Top 10 Best Places to Visit in Scotland. Number 1. Edinburgh Castle. The stone towers and walls of Edinburgh Castle have dominated the Edinburgh skyline since the 13th century. Perched atop black basalt rock, it offers magnificent views of the city and a trip through Scotland's tumultuous history. Highlights of Edinburgh Castle are the spectacular crown jewels, the famous Stone of Destiny, the Stone of Scone, and St. Margaret's Chapel, built in 1130 and the oldest building in Edinburgh. Enter the castle over a drawbridge across an old moat from the broad esplanade, where the famous Edinburgh military tattoo is held every August. Bronze statues of legendary heroes William Wallace and Robert the Bruce seem to keep watch over the castle gates. Below, the Royal Mile stretches down the steep escarpment to the elegant Palace of Holyrood House, another of Edinburgh's most famous landmarks. Lined by brick townhouses and historic landmarks, the Royal Mile is also filled with small shops, kilt makers, terrums, museums, and cafes. Between its tall buildings, some reaching to more than 10 stories on the downhill side, are narrow little alleys called wens that weave between tiny hidden closes. Number 2. Loch Lomond. Idyllic Loch Lomond, just a short drive northwest of Glasgow, is Britain's largest lake. According to Scots author Walter Scott, it's also the Queen of Scottish Lakes. With an abundance of trout, salmon, and whitefish as a lure for anglers, water sports, and plenty of open space for hikers, this beautiful corner of Scotland is also a favorite day trip from the city. Boat trips are popular things to do in Loch Lomond, as are lakeside rambles and longer treks up majestic Ben Lomond. 3,192 feet, with its spectacular views across the Trossachs National Park. The latest attraction to be added here is Loch Lomond Shores, home to a great shopping mall selling local crafts, a farmer's market, restaurants, and bike and boat rentals. A major draw here is the Loch Lomond SCA Life Aquarium. In addition to its displays of native marine life, this family-friendly attraction houses Scotland's biggest shark tank. Weather permitting, be sure to pay a visit to the rooftop. Number 3. Cruising Loch Ness. Think of Loch Ness, and you'll probably picture the mythical monster that, according to legend, has made this 23-mile-long loch home for countless centuries. The largest body of water in Scotland's Great Glen, Loch Ness is part of a waterway connecting the east and west coasts of Scotland. It and 3 other lochs are joined together by the Caledonian Canal, which you can cruise on short excursions or on a 6-hour voyage from one end to the other, through the canal locks that adjust the varying water levels. The canal and each of the lochs are surrounded by some of the most beautiful Highland scenery, but no part is more scenic than Loch Ness itself, with the romantic ruins of Urquhart Castle on its hillside above the water. The center of many ancient myths, the 12th century castle fell victim to a fire some 500 years later. Number 4. The Royal Yacht Britannia, Edinburgh. For more than 40 years, the Royal Yacht Britannia was a floating royal residence, traveling more than 1 million miles around the world. Glimpse the life of the royal family, their guests, and the crew as you explore Britannia's 5 main decks with an audio tour, visiting the bridge, state apartments and royal bedrooms, cruise quarters, and engine room. You can also see the Rolls-Royce Phantom V that used to travel on board, and stop for tea and cakes in the Royal Deck Tea Room. Newly added to the attraction in 2019 is the Fingal Hotel, offering luxury accommodations set in a former lighthouse tender berthed next to the royal yacht. Number 5. Isle of Skye and the Inner Hebrides. The largest of Scotland's inner isles, Skye is especially popular with birders, ramblers, and nature lovers. Its wild, romantic mountain scenery is marked by green valleys, caves, lonely glens, sandy beaches, and rushing waterfalls, quite a remarkable variety for an island just 50 miles long and ever more than 15 miles wide. The island has the remains of primeval oak forests, as well as an abundance of wildlife that includes otters, seals, and at least 200 species of birds. Getting to Skye is easy, as it's connected to the mainland via a bridge. You can also get here by ferry. The other islands in the Inner Hebrides include, among others, Islay, Jura, Mull, Rothesay, Staffa, and Iona. Getting to Iona is a bit more complicated, requiring 2 ferry rides, but it is tremendously rewarding. This is considered Scotland's cradle of Christianity, as it was here that St. Columba arrived from Ireland in the 6th century to spread the gospel. Number 6. Stirling Castle. The palace of James V and childhood home of Mary Queen of Scots, Stirling Castle is one of the best preserved Renaissance buildings in the UK. While some earlier structures still stand, The castle's grand halls and rooms are carefully restored and furnished to its 1500s appearance, even to painstaking reproductions of its tapestries. Costumed interpreters interact with visitors to bring the castle and its history to life, and History Hunter programs on weekends are designed for young explorers. Ideally situated between Edinburgh and Glasgow, Stirling is famous for the Battle of Bannockburn, which saw Robert the Bruce defeat the English invaders in 1314, as well as the Battle of Stirling Bridge, a victory for Scottish independence secured by the legendary William Wallace. The splendid Bannockburn Heritage Centre offers excellent displays and exhibits regarding this important era. Number 7. Kelvingrove Art Gallery and Museum. Since a fire devastated much of the work of Charles Rennie Mackintosh at the Glasgow School of Art, Kelvingrove Art Gallery and Museum has become the primary destination for admirers of the Glasgow style, a distinctive part of the arts and crafts movement and Art Nouveau styles of the early 20th century. Created and opened shortly before the fire, the Charles Rennie Mackintosh and the Glasgow-style gallery includes several entire Mackintosh rooms, as well as works by other prominent artists of the movement. Along with other notable treasures, a Van Gogh portrait, Bronze Age tools and jewelry from Iran and Kintyre, a 1944 Mark 21 Spitfire, and a magnificent 1901 organ used for daily free concerts. One of the museum's most popular exhibits is Salvador Dali's Christ of St. John of the Cross. Number 8. Golf at St. Andrews. The Scots lay claim to many inventions, including the bicycle, postage stamps, telephones, and steam engines. But perhaps their most enduring invention is the game of golf. One of the lifetime dreams of dedicated golfers is to play the much-revered Royal and Ancient Golf Club located in historic St. Andrews, and just 12 miles southeast of Dundee. Founded in 1750 and recognized internationally as golf's ruling body, St. Andrews regularly hosts the famous British Open at one of its many 18-hole courses, the most famous of which is the par 72-hole course running alongside the rugged coast. Although tee times are often reserved 6 months in advance, some are kept available by lottery 2 days in advance for those who do not have reservations. Worth visiting are the majestic old clubhouse and the British Golf Museum, which documents the history of the home of golf, from the Middle Ages to the present day. Number 9. Fort William and Ben Nevis. The best place to explore Ben Nevis, Britain's tallest mountain, is from the picturesque town of Fort William. Situated at the southeastern end of the Caledonian Canal, this coastal town can trace its roots back to the original fort built here in the 17th century. Although since long gone, the history of the fort can be explored in the West Highland Museum, along with sizable collections of paintings, Highland costumes, and weaponry. A must-do is hop aboard the Jacobite steam train. Made famous by the Harry Potter movie franchise, the train follows the West Highland line over the spectacular Glenfinnan Viaduct. Then, there's Ben Nevis. Easy to discern from Fort William on a clear day, it's an impressive sight, and one that draws many a hiker, both amateur and hardcore alike. Despite its elevation, the ascent can be achieved in around 2.5 hours, and it's well worth it for the spectacular views, extending as far as 150 miles across the Scottish Highlands and as far as Ireland. Number 10. Riverside Museum in Tallship. One of Scotland's most visited attractions, the Free Riverside Museum in Glasgow gathers together the history of transportation by land and water in an eye-catching new venue. During the course of a visit, you'll see trams, locomotives, buses, horse-drawn carriages, and vintage cars, along with ships and other models. A highlight is the authentic reconstruction of 1938 Glasgow streets, with shops you can enter and platforms leading up to all the locomotives on display. In all, more than 20 interactive displays and 90 large touchscreens add images, recollections, and films that bring added meaning to the collections. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. Also subscribe to our channel before you go.